If you think Claude code has gotten dumber over the last few weeks, you were not hallucinating. In fact, a week ago, Anthropic issued the statement identifying 2 issues that are causing quality degradation in Claude. But now they have released a detailed postmortem of the 3 recent issues, which I'll highly recommend to read. It has a lot more details than what you would expect from a company like Anthropic. They talk about the timeline of what those issues are when they happened, what was the severity and corresponding effect, and how you should even think about your own evals if you're building with large language models. But the bottom line is that inference at this scale is extremely hard. Anthropic is not the only company. OpenAI had similar issues with hosting their models. But I think with the recent news of performance degradation of Claude code, OpenAI has really capitalized on building and improving codecs. And I have seen a lot of people either switching from Claude code to codecs or talking about it a lot more. Now, in this video, we're going to see what those issues were and what we can learn from this. Okay, so here's kind of the rough timeline. According to Anthropic, the first major issue occurred on August 5th, the second occurred on August 25th, and the third one August 26th. These seems to be independent of each other, and they were identified at different stages. The last one was fixed on September 12th, which is almost 5 days ago. Now, before looking at those issues, here's a tweet which directly addressed the concern. They say that we would like to address a concern we have heard in the community. We never intentionally degrade model quality as a result of demand or other factors. So this is a statement directly from Claude. So before looking at the issues, something very interesting. Anthropic is internally using a combination of AWS, NVIDIA GPUs, and Google TPUs. I think AWS and Google are shareholders in Anthropic, but just thinking about the complexity of serving the same model on 3 different platforms is kind of nightmarish. Okay, so let's quickly go through the issues and what we can learn from these. The first one is what they're calling context window routing error. So it seems like they were configuring Sonnet 4 with 1 million context window and misrouted some of the queries to this new server. This started happening on August 5th. Now, we're not sure whether those were short queries or longer than 200,000 tokens. Initially, it affected less than 1%, but impacting almost 16% of Sonnet 4 requests, which is a really substantial amount. One thing you are going to learn throughout this blog post is that infra and inference is extremely hard. So if you're a backend engineer and you have misconfigured things, don't feel too bad. Now, interestingly enough, there has been a lot of reports regarding the performance degradation specifically for Claude code. Now, they say that approximately 30% of Claude code users who made requests during this period had at least one message routed to wrong server type, resulting in degraded responses. Interestingly enough, it's happening only on the Anthropic servers. So Mrock and Google Vertex AI customers were not really affected by this. Now, the resolution that they have done is that they say that we fixed the routing logic to ensure short and long context requests were directed to correct server pools. So I would suspect that in this case, probably even shorter queries were being routed here, and that resulted in issues. Now, the second one is output corruption. So this is more related to how you configure your sampling parameters. So on August 25th, they misconfigured Claude API TPU servers that caused an error during token generation. Now, the issue was they were, I think, trying to optimize performance, but this resulted in occasionally assigning a high probability to a token that should rarely be produced given the context. So for example, some people who were sending English prompts probably have seen Thai and Chinese characters in their outputs. This mainly affected Opus 4.1 and Opus 4 on August 25th and 28th, and seems like it also had impact on Sonnet 4 as well. Again, third-party platforms were not affected. Now, this is supposed to be fixed by September 2nd. Okay, the third one is what they're calling approximate top K XLA TPU miscompilation. So on August 25th, they deployed a code to improve how Claude selects tokens during text generation. This change triggered a latent bug in XLA TPU compiler, which has been confirmed to affect request of Haiku 3.5. Now, this is specifically related to TPUs, and they go into a lot more details on what exactly happened here. So when an LLM generates text, it calculates probability for each possible next word, then randomly choose a sample from this probability distribution. So if you have set top P, what it does is that it only considers words whose cumulative probability reaches a threshold. So let's say if you set it to 0.9, it will only consider tokens where cumulative probabilities add up to 0.9, and then it randomly samples from those tokens. So it seems like it kind of misfired. When the temperature was set to 0, it would occasionally drop the most probable token because of this compilation error in the TPU XLA. But the cause is very interesting. So their model compute next token prediction probabilities in 16 bits floating point. However, TPU process everything in natively in 32 bits, right? So this has caused some mismatch. In fact, if you look at the defeating non-determinism in LLM inference article from Thinking Machine, they talk about this specific issue of mismatch between inference and training quantization level, and that could be a contributor to non-deterministic outputs in LLMs. Although in that article, they report that non-deterministic outputs are mainly caused by how we batch our samples. It's a very interesting read, which I'll highly recommend if you are interested in understanding why these LLMs are non-deterministic or more probabilistic in nature when it's generating tokens. So here they have some examples of how they were trying to fix the bug. I am going to put a link to this if you're interested in reading more. Now, something very interesting which they highlight in their blog post is that why they were not able to capture these issues, even though there were some reports in the community. So they say that our validation process ordinarily relies on benchmarks alongside safety evaluation and performance metrics. Engineering teams perform spot checks and deploy to small canary groups first, right? So it seems like the benchmarks that they have do not actually capture issues like these. Now, this is very important, especially if you're building anything with LLMs or machine learning systems in general. You don't want to have static benchmarks. Your benchmarks needs to evolve based on the issues, bugs that you see in production. It complicates things for them because of their internal privacy and security limits. They cannot just look at interactions that are happening with Claude. They say that we relied too heavily on noisy evaluation. Although we were aware of an increase in reports online, we lacked a clear way to connect these to each of our recent changes. So as a result of this, they're going to be producing more sensitive evals to help discover the root causes of any given issue. We have deployed evaluation that can more reliably differentiate between working and broken implementations than quality evaluation in more places. They plan to run them continuously on true production systems to catch issues such as context window load balancing and then faster debugging tooling. So very interesting things from the Anthropic team. So a few takeaways. First is inference is extremely hard, especially at this scale. Now, if you are putting anything in production, apart from your evals that test your system at deployment time, you want to have continuous evals, and you need to update those based on the feedback that you're gathering from your users or the type of issues that you encounter in production. Now, at the end, I'm actually really happy that Anthropic shared this detailed timeline along with the issues that were potentially causing the degradation. Now, are these three the only reason, or there is something else? We don't know. So do let me know your thoughts. Anyways, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.